Hello, I'm the Bunnyman.
And I'm Crazy Susie.
And we are in the Eyes of Terror.
We are?
We are. And from the Terror Couch, it's whatever night you're listening to this on. Woo!
So unfortunately, we've gotten off track again. I've been quite ill lately, and so we're just going to try to jump right back on that wagon and keep riding.
Well, I think we needed a sort of a break, too. So we took a month off.
We don't really have a theme for this one.
Yes, we do.
Do we?
A Winter of Isolation.
Winter of Isolation. Is that what all these movies mean?
Yeah. Okay. All of them have a theme of winter and isolation. And
okay. Our first film for the series is Curtains, 1983.
Yes. And we watched this movie on YouTube and Prime.
It's available on YouTube and Prime. We didn't watch it on both.
No, we did. Simultaneously. on our TVs and then on our phones. And then, yep, we're just that good.
It is rated R. It's 1 hour and 29 minutes long. And IMDb gives it a whopping 5.7 out of 10, which is pretty high.
Mm-hmm. And so let's start chilling our stuff. So if you don't know, we do a live stream, and we try to keep it, what is it, every other Sunday now?
Yeah.
At 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can... I post it to both of the Twitter and the Instagram when we're streaming. So if you haven't joined us on either one of those, please do. So we're up to date on that. We do it on YouTube, Streamy, and a series of other platforms. Just keep a lookout for those. We're still new to the whole streaming thing, and let's be honest, we don't have the greatest internet, so it's... The audio's there.
Yeah.
The visual, not so good. And then we still have a Redbubble up, so we still have that. And we have a Teespring.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 250 some odd days before Halloween. There's some Halloween designs up there. Get those while you can.
Every day's Halloween for us.
Yes. And then we're on social media, obviously, on YouTube. And if you haven't watched our last 2 streams, you can catch those up. Now they're on smaller segments because we had issues.
Right.
We're trying to get better, but it's a slow process. And then we have this. Anything else?
I don't think so.
No, I think that's it. We have a Patreon, and we have other things like that. So,
yep.
So if you want to help out the channel, keep us going, that helps. Although this is very minimal expenditure, but any sort of amount, either buying merch or Patreon, does help directly go to...
We really need to update some equipment that we have, so It will definitely go toward helping us to do that, to where, the viewing pleasure could be more pleasurable.
Yeah, and that's including, I like to get a new mic set up, and a new, right now we're using my webcam off my computer,
mm-hmm.
and then higher speed internet at some point.
Yep.
And and a new computer, or build a new computer just for editing and stuff like that. So we could actually do more of what I want to do, and do both with this channel and with the this podcast and with the YouTube, is to do sketches on YouTube and do more of like a horror host type thing. And then do what we normally do on podcasting. So it's not just we're going to do one or the other, and we're knocking down our normal schedule from a weekly to every 3. We're only doing 3 reviews and then we're doing a live stream, and then we'll probably do a terror talk. But the live stream is sort of a terror talk. And what the live stream is us watching a movie for the very first time, and us just making jokes and stuff. It's sort of a behind-the-scenes glance of when we actually do watch these movies, but none of the movies that we watched for the reviews will be shown. But we just got done with watching The Nun, and we watched Heredity, and we're going to watch, for Valentine's Day, that Nicolas Cage movie. Mandy. And then, just a slew of others that are on there.
Our YouTube channel is kind of set aside to do movies that are more well-known. But we're going to keep our podcast to the, more of the B-rated...
Lesser-known films.
Lesser-known films, yep.
So that was always the intention of this. It's just we're trying to expand into more of that. And like I said, at some point, I like to do sketches and stuff, but that requires having an actual camera. Like a video camera to do that, and props and stuff. I already have plans for all this. It's just getting the equipment.
Right.
So, and hopefully things will be changing here sooner than later, and we can actually make that a dream. That dream a reality.
That's the goal, anyway.
Yeah.
So we're doing Curtains.
1983.
It's a horror mystery thriller. It is directed by Richard Ciupka.
And we have the pitter-patter of lovely little feet that are not our kids.
The writer is Robert Guza Jr. And the cast is pretty small, so I'll go through a good chunk of it. John Vernon plays John Stryker. Samantha Eggar plays Samantha Sherwood. Linda Thorson plays Brooke Parsons. Anne Ditchburn plays Lauren Summers. Lynne Griffin plays Patti O'Connor. Sandee Currie plays Tara DeMillo. Deborah Burgess, I guess, plays Amanda Teuther.
You missed one.
Lesleh.
Lesleh.
Donaldson plays Christy Burns. And Michael Wincott plays Matthew.
And many, many more.
There are more, but that's the main character.
Okay, so I have to say, the guy who played Jonathan Stryker, it took me a while through this movie to figure out who he was. Like where I've seen him before, and I finally figured out where it was. He was Dean Wormer from Animal House. That's why he looks so familiar. I'm like,
yeah,
who is this guy? And I'm like, oh, it's Dean Wormer. So
I'm sure he's been in other films too.
But it's sort of hard to watch the movie and then you do that, and because half the time you're sort of expecting him to go, be the house. So, oh, and I forgot, what am I drinking? I am drinking a Samuel Adams Sam 76. I've had this before. It comes out of the winter pack. It's a crisp, citrusy type thing. Earlier we had some monsters. We had the Ultra Grape, and then we had Jinky Orange.
I've done better in selections, I'll just say that. The film originates from Canada. The estimated budget is quite extensive. I was kind of surprised with the budget.
3,700,000 Canadian. So that equals about $1.75 and a Yugo.
Okay. So the storyline of this film is 6 younger actresses auditioning for a movie role at a remote mansion are targeted by a mysterious masked murderer.
Yes.
That's basically the gist of it.
And this is a Jensen Farley picture. So, this is one of those old, lesser-known movie house pictures. I think this was like their claim to fame movie, too. Okay.
That's sad.
Yeah. Well, at the time, I think it was rarely popular. They just, again, it was... Movies at the time were just something that people went into as a side business a lot of times. Especially within horror. Alright, so... we see a young... I don't want to say young, but... We see a woman on stage holding a gun and monologuing something monologue. And then a man...
The movie begins with the title written in blood.
Oh, yes. It has the Jensen Farley picture logo. And then the name of the movie in blood. And then we see a woman on stage holding a gun, monologuing about something monologuing.
She's on stage acting out a part of a vengeful lover. The lights go out. She yells for Stryker. He and her go up to a big brick estate to see Dr. Pendleton.
Yes.
They go into the office. Stryker says hi to the doctor's secretary.
And then, of course, she's like, whatever. Here's, something. Here's your client. And then she realizes who the lady was. Mm-hmm. And then asks for her signature. I guess she's, I would say, a relatively known movie actress. But I don't think she's like a big one. Does it? You understand what I'm saying? She has recognition. There we go. She has recognition, but she's not like she can't go anywhere type recognition.
Right.
So we go to this doctor's office, and we go find out why they're there, because Stryker wants to put her in the loony bin.
Right.
And so he says stuff, she has extreme behaviors. And
well, the doctor says he expected severe behavior. Mm-hmm. He says
because she's sitting there in the corner.
He expects her to be behind the camera in no time. Stryker comments...
No, she is supposed to be in front of the camera in no time.
Right. Okay. Stryker comments and says, well, I'm afraid those days are over.
Well, during this whole time meeting so far, she's sitting there next to Stryker, just sort of like chilled out, and then all of a sudden, she, I would say, picks up a pen or whatever and lunges at Stryker.
It was a letter opener.
And, and that's the extreme behavior she was showing. So she lunges at him, and then some men in nice white suits come in and restrain her in a nice little straitjacket.
It was a nice straitjacket.
It was a nice straitjacket. It was nice, clean, and white.
They don't make them like that anymore.
No, they actually don't make straitjackets in general anymore. You can't, you should know, you can't do that anymore.
That's unfortunate.
You can't put people in straitjackets because it has caused broken ribs and stuff, and dislocated shoulders and elbows, and people have misused them. They have put them far too long in a straitjacket, tightened them too much in the straitjacket, and that's why the psychiatric society has outlawed them. Outlawed them. So that instead they chemically straitjacket people now.
Yeah.
So.
You're bad. We're gonna give you a shot of Ativan. Heck yeah. I'll take me a nice nap. Just give me one.
Yeah. Because, a lot of times the people they would put people in straitjackets would be harmful to themselves and others. So. It was. I think. In the end, it was deemed inhumane. I think was the exact. Uh, Gaveling of that. So, the verdict. But yes, that was a nice straitjacket, though. Has some nice leather on it, and
it's leather straps.
Just they don't make those anymore.
Nope.
Like those anymore. Reckoning like we know, like we're fine connoisseurs of straitjackets.
Maybe.
All right.
You don't know us. So she lashes out at Stryker. The doctor pushes this buzzer, and men come in white coats, and they restrain her in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
Okay. The doctor asks Stryker, "Are you okay?" Stryker says, "I'm fine." He asks the doctor if he can have a moment alone with Samantha.
Well, which I feel like this was a really weird, like, not a request, but they're just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Have a good time. I'm just going to have a cigarette outside. She can't do any harm. She's in a straitjacket.
So when the doctor and his men leave and shut the door,
she's not going to bite you or anything.
They talk about her performance and how her being committed is just for her to get a feel for Audra.
Yeah, so this whole thing is that she's going to the loony bin for a role.
To get the feel of the character, yeah. Audra. Because Audra was committed at one point.
But, I mean, and this sort of bothers me again. It's like, she could actually, like, volunteer or whatever as, like, a staff member.
People have done much more extreme things to get into the head. Excuse me. To get into the head of the character that they're playing.
I get that, but
they've lost a lot of weight. They've starved themselves. Yeah. They've been homeless for a period of time, just to try to get a feel for what the character's going through.
Well, but I mean, I think a good thing about her doing this too is shortly thereafter, after they say their goodbyes and stuff, she's taken to her room. And it's not a single room. It's a shared dorm room.
Right.
And she realizes that what I get myself into, because there was like one chick like tickled her, or
we're getting into that.
Yeah.
So she gets settled in with the other women. Stryker visits her on occasion. There are restless nights. Her roommate has nightmares and screams out in terror in the dark. The women watch a movie.
Well, and then there's another one, like I said, there was like one that like tickled her or something.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, she just wouldn't stop. And, she was going.
That's a little bit later.
Well, okay. Well, go ahead.
So the women watch a movie, and Samantha is actually an actress in the film, and they all laugh at her.
Yeah, but she was like behind them, and she was like, she was like, oh, that was my old life, or whatever. Like, I think you're starting to see, like, the horrors, in a way, of this wasn't as fun in games as I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see her disheveled, she's no longer well put, stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, as much as you can be in that situation. And so, she's, like, smiling back at this role of herself, and it's going, oh, those were the good old days. Something that she's no longer a part of.
Yeah. Stryker comes to visit again. She tells him they believe everything. Meaning, the doctor and everybody believes that she's
legitimately a loon.
Yeah. She's mental. So everything in here is sad, she says. Even their laughter is sad. And one of the ladies, when Stryker leaves, one of the ladies comes up to her and she pets her hair like if she were an animal. I found that to be quite strange.
Mm-hmm.
Her roommate, who has the night terrors, is drug away during the night for a procedure to quiet her screams and returns to her bed with her head in bandages.
So we sort of had a debate about this one. I still think that he did a lobotomy or some sort of shock therapy. Either it be...
I think they probably did shock therapy. I don't think they did a lobotomy.
I mean, not shock some sort of, shock. Either it be electrical shock therapy, but they did in the 60s because I was inhumane. So they went to insulin therapy for a while.
That wouldn't explain why her head was bandaged.
Well, that was the only question.
When they shock you, they put these electrodes on your temples.
Trust me, I've studied. I have a bizarre fascination with old asylums. So I've studied the practices they did.
I know that. We've looked at equipment and everything.
But I mean, the listener doesn't. But at this time, if you would go back in time, they stopped doing the shock therapy because it was considered inhumane and stuff like that. So they went to insulin therapy, where they would overdose the person on insulin, and it would make them convulse. The idea of both of them being that through the convulsion, sort of like when somebody has a seizure, it would do a hard reset on the brain. So whatever was causing the issue, they wouldn't be able to cause it for a while because the brain was rebooting.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the theory behind it.
So, Stryker, he visits one last time, and he just leaves Samantha there.
Yeah, I think he loses interest in her, and he just moves on to bigger, better things.
And now we get introduced to the different actresses that are going to be invited to Stryker's house to audition for the part of Audra.
Yeah, so there was a casting call of some sort, and I think, what was it, 6 in total? Something like that. Yeah. Actresses. We come to the first lady. What was her name? And we're in her home, and she's taking a bath.
You forgot the comedian.
No, oh yeah. So we're introduced to all these characters through headshots that are being thrown into a fireplace.
Mm-hmm. Because Samantha escapes the hospital, and she has a conversation with her friend about the audition of Audra.
Yeah.
Because Stryker had put it in the newspaper.
Mm-hmm. And then the women...
Yeah, so the first woman that's introduced is a comedian. She's an aspiring actress. And the second woman is what you were talking about.
Yeah, well, I forgot about the screenshot thing for a second. But we were introduced to her, and she's just like chilling in her home, taking a bath or whatever.
Yep.
And so this scene was... You pretty much could have cut this entire scene out of this movie. So she's taking a bath. We see some guy in the bushes. We see him put on some nylons over his face. He comes into the thing. And let me say this. 1980s women's underwear was not sexy at all. At least the brand she was wearing. Not attractive. And then he comes in and he gets her on the bed, and you go find out it is her boyfriend, husband thing. And she takes off the stockings, and she said, "Don't ruin my stockings." So it was all set up for... They got into some kinky stuff. I don't know. And they do the do, and then him and his hairy chest are out for the night.
She says, I think it's funny because she's drinking a glass of wine and she tells him, I want the part of Audra more than I want your parts. But I'll give you something to remember me by.
Yeah, and I think if I was the guy, I'd be like, I'm a bit offended. A bit offended. Or say something, well, no wonder why your stockings smell like my grandma's.
So she drives out the next day.
No, she's driving out. She has this doll.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a happy doll.
It's got a frowning face.
Yeah. It's got a creepy frowny face. So anyway, she goes out and drives out to Stryker's.
She doesn't get there.
Place, and then it's heavily raining, and she is driving a Jaguar, and she sees this doll in the middle of the road, and she goes out and has to investigate why the doll was there. And when she goes down, who knew that the makers made the doll's arms with bear traps? And they bear trap her arms, and then somebody gets into the car and then runs over the woman and the doll. So the tragedy is the doll is now dead. And then we realize it's all a dream, and Peter's gone. And then next we hear heavy breathing. And there's a masked hag. I don't know what else to call her. It's a hag. And then the masked hag produces the first kill of the movie. She gets stabbed in the stomach, and the killer takes the doll. Like, this is now my doll. So, yes.
Stabs and grabs.
Yeah, she's not going to take any of the money or anything, just the doll. And then we get two more actresses. So we get two more actresses driving to Stryker's house.
One more.
I said two more. And then we see Patti,
the comedian, at the gas station.
Yeah. And she gets hit on by a 13-year-old boy. He was trying to get some of that comedian booty. But unfortunately, she only pays for the gas. And he's like, shucks, lady.
Darn it.
Shucks. And then we see all the actresses around the dinner table making jokes and blah, 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 blah. Okay, 5 women. And it's a pretty formal table.
Mm-hmm.
And a relatively interesting dining room. And they're all trying to figure out what they have in common. And then Stryker walks in and goes about his appreciation for their work. Then Matthew walks in and takes a seat. And then Samantha just randomly shows up.
Well, he introduces Matthew and he says, "This is Matthew. He will be one of your co-stars." And says, "One of you will be Audra."
Oh, yeah. And then he does state that there is one woman missing.
Yes.
And then, so he just says there's supposed to be 6, and there's only 5. And then halfway through dinner, that's when Samantha shows up in a very formal dress, her hair done nicely.
He tries to introduce Samantha to the other women, and she says, "Don't bother. They all look alike to me."
Yeah, she's like, they shouldn't even be here. We already know I have the part, darling. And, she has that air of, I'm better than everybody.
So after dinner, everybody goes to their respective rooms and everything. But one of the women, Tara, the musician, has fun with Matthew in the hot tub.
They get a little heated in the hot tub. They make the boils go bubble, 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 bubble. In the hot tub. And that's about as much character development we have with Tara. That's it.
Very much.
We just sort of see side boob, and that's about it.
So the other women, they make fun of the ice skater. They think she's a baby.
Yes, because Christie is her name. And yeah, so Christie, she's relatively new. She's known to be an ice skater. That's her shtick in life. So I did not know that Audrey was an ice skater in this movie. So because I'm trying to figure out, like, if you look at it, and so they're all supposed to be perspectives of, or they're all supposed to. One of them is going to fit this Audrey character. Mm-hmm. So obviously, all of them have gone through the rigmarole, and they're the final contestants. So how are all their sticks supposed to fit in with this Audrey character? All we know of is she's a bit of a loon because she was in an insane asylum, and she's sort of unhinged at points. So Christie walks in on Patti and Brooke joking around with a snake, and we find out she is in training. And I think she said for several years she's in training.
Yeah, since she's been skating since she was little.
But she's in training been a while for ice skating, and has a bad habit of eavesdropping. And there was a fit between Stryker and she overheard a fight between Stryker and Samantha. Mm-hmm.
But they play it off as, oh, this was just a part he wrote, and it was really awful, and yeah, we weren't serious. We were just role-playing, basically.
Yeah. But basically what the issue was saying is, how dare you leave me in the insane asylum for as long as you did, and basically he's like, how did you get out? I sort of left you there for a reason. You're a little bit of a nut job. How did you get out the straitjacket? Did you chew your way through? Did you have a bit of cheese for the rats? Next we see a gloved hand grab at a sickle and sharpen it right on up to make it nice and sharpy. And then next we find out Stryker made a visit to Christie. And he made a midnight call to Christie's bed. To go find out she was out in the winter too much and she was cold. So he just decided to cuddle right next to her.
Makes sense.
Yep.
He wanted to un-ice her
Yeah.
cold parts.
Yeah, her ice cave. Which the next morning goes out to the ice pond with her boom box. And, we're talking like an old-fashioned boom box here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One that you would throw over your
Back
shoulder.
in the day, boom box.
The one you would throw over your shoulder and walk down the street going, yep, this is my new iPod. I don't want hearing in this ear anymore.
It's okay.
There was actually a guy in my neighborhood that did that. Like, he would just walk up and down, like, the street all day. Just, well, till the batteries ran out, so maybe about 30 minutes, I guess. Walking up and down the street with this boombox blaring in his right ear. It was like Run DMC and stuff. And it was just like, okay. And even then, at that of an early age, I was like, obviously you don't want to hear in your right ear. So she starts skating, and we realize why she's been in training for so long. And you see, the entire time I'm actually expecting the ice to just like crack open or something. Like, I don't know much about pond skating, but I'm always generally a cautious person. So that's just me. And then the music stops, so we just find out that the battery just ran out. Because, those 6 double Ds only last about 20 minutes. So she skates over there, and, we all know that if you take the double Ds out, and you shake them really, really hard, and put them back in, you should at least get another 5 seconds out of them. So she goes over there, she starts shaking it around, investigates the situation, and uncovers the unhappy doll, which is dressed like her. Then we see a pair of brown fuzzy skates. Then we see the hag coming at her with the sickle. And then she tries to skate away. And that's how we get kill number 2. The unhappy doll head just goes whoosh, and that was the worst kill of them all. I give that a 4 out of 5. I felt sorry for that doll. I mean, how could the doll's head get chopped off? It was such a sad moment. I felt sad like the doll. And then, Chrissy gets sliced up a little bit and was able to slice a little bit. She gets her arm cut, or her arm cut. And she's able to trip the hag to knock her out. Now we have to hear her whine as she walks back through the forest. She's,
It's a flesh wound.
It is. It's just at best she cut a little bit through the coat. And then, so she just needed a Band-Aid and some alcohol.
Well, there's blood, so it's a flesh wound.
Yeah. And then she rests on a tree because, we can't get very far. And then, yeah. Then a gloved hand comes, wraps around, and slices her neck wide open with that sickle. And then next we see Stryker and the rest of the girls are in a dance studio.
And they ask if anyone has seen Christie. Stryker says, "Oh, she's gone. She slipped a note under my door."
Yeah. It said basically, she couldn't hack it. She left because she couldn't hack it.
They didn't ask questions, so.
No. Because it's all competition. They're all competition to each other. So if one just
drops out, it's just beneficial.
Yeah. The Samantha comes in with her crazy eyes in full swing. I guess she's got some crazy eyes. She's got that one crazy eye. The other one is sort of half closed. But you're really in trouble though. She's got what I call that mom eye. I know what you did. I know what you did.
Mm-hmm.
I can see right through you. Crazy. Okay. And then Stryker starts getting irritated with her and told her to get ugly. So he throws her the hag mask at her and goes, tells her to seduce him, but she's not allowed to say her words. So this is just the hottest seduction scene ever known to man. I mean, here's this lady in this old hag mask going, I was just, whew, it was getting hot in there. It's getting hot and steamy in there. And then, yeah, it was just, it really does bring a tear to my eye, with the heavy mouth breathing. I love,
well, he got her to wear the mask to make an example of her.
I know, but I mean, what really did it was that heavy mouth breathing.
Because she interrupted his group session with the other girls.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what he did.
Yeah, he has her to put on the mask. He tells her, "Now seduce me. No words, sounds. Use your eyes, no touching.
Yeah.
Make one love and desire you. You're beautiful, remember?
You're beautiful. Don't you know?"
So he gets impatient with her. He jerks the mask off and he tells her, he grabs her face on the chin and he says, "This is a mask too."
And she's got those crazy eyes.
Now there, are you satisfied? Nope, she's pretty mortified, so she runs out and leaves.
Oh. Next, we see Matthew driving the snowmobile. I don't know what you did.
Evidently, I got tired of making notes.
Yeah, honestly. So we see Matthew driving the snowmobile while he's drinking and snowmobiling.
He's drinking and snowmobiling?
Yes, so hopefully the Mounties aren't anywhere near to give him a SUI. Mm-hmm. And then next we see Patti reading the script, and Stryker pushes a footstool at her and makes her sit down on it. Well, she assumes to sit down on it. Stryker didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. She's like, "Oh, you want me to sit down on this footstool?" And she sits there like an obedient child. That's basically what it was. And didn't say a word, so I think he was just like testing her waters type thing. Mm-hmm. And then she sits down and starts making jokes because that's her thing. And then he tells her she's not right for the part, and she just blows up at him. Just like gets on the stairs and he's walking away. She blows up at him.
Yeah, she's yelling and calling him everything but a white man.
Yep. And then he just takes it and he looks at her and he lets her go for a little bit. And he's like, "I see a part of Audrey in you." So
that's not what he said.
Well, it says, which he says he sees a bit of Audrey in her. Is that better?
He says, "I see a bit of Audrey now."
Yeah. Yeah. So this,
because he wanted her to leave because he was concerned that
she wasn't the part.
She just couldn't fill that role. So she blows up at him and gets angry when he tries to walk away from her.
Well, but the entire...
And he says... She was like, "Well, I don't know what you expect." And he says, "Well, I'm looking for Audra, but I just found a little bit of her." Meaning that she was acting like her.
But, I mean, the entire time she was making this a joke. I mean, I understand people get stressed out and they make jokes and stuff. But, I mean, at no point during this entire time she seemed like she cared to even be there. Like, she didn't make an effort to be there. And then Stryker goes into Samantha's room and asks, "Where's the mask?" He, freaks out. He's like, where's the old hag mask? It's gone missing. She doesn't know where it's at. And so he thinks that she took it. Then we see Brooke. And when we were introduced to Brooke, she was reading, the variety magazine. Or the variety papers. And she seems like she's been in the business for a while, but she's sort of... past her prime. Is the best way to put it.
One-dimensional.
Yeah, she's one-dimensional. And, she even said, well, I don't... Her agent called, and she's like, "Oh, I don't call them, they call me," or something like that. And, or I don't do this,
She says she doesn't review the script until she gets an offer.
Offer, yeah. And so... But we see Brooke reading the script and a pair of a pair of 90s and heels. So she's wearing two 90s, obviously. A 90 and heels, which is a very odd combination. And she also has really, really curly, almost afro hair. So she's definitely not my type, but
I have curly hair.
Yes, but I mean it's that old It's that old perm.
Yeah, it's 80s perm.
And I'll be honest with
old
you.
Old lady perm.
Yeah. And my grandma used to get perms all the time. Every time we would go over there. And my grandma was a very heavy smoker on top of it. So, I hated being in there when my mom would do my grandma's perm because it would just saturate the house. And there would be my grandma smoking a cigarette and drinking some coffee as she's getting her hair permed. And I could still smell, every time I see a perm, I could just smell those chemicals.
Yeah, it smelled like a rotten egg.
No, it made my eyes burn. I don't know what the chemicals were. I cannot handle permed hair. And it just definitely cannot handle it now. I sort of lost my part. Place.
You got yourself off track this time. It wasn't me.
Okay. And next we have Tara and Laura in the studio, and Laura's supposed to be feeling up Tara's breast, like, and there's Stryker just like, oh yeah, you have yet to introduce internet porn. Oh yeah, VHSs are too expensive.
Touch her like a man.
Touch her like a man. Okay. But she is nervous, and Stryker gets upset, and they didn't fulfill his fantasy. So he was like, "You're not doing it right. Do it like this." And Brooke is in the bathroom, nervously.
He's like, "Dang it, woman! Have you never grabbed a breast before? What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Grab it like a man.
Jiggle it.
That's not necessary.
Go old Richard Nixon on it.
They weren't our 5 followers.
Brooke is in the bathroom, nervously painting her nails, when she opens the curtains and then opens the toilet seat to reveal Christie's head. She runs into the studio.
Hysterical.
Hysterical, yeah. Again, I don't understand how women can run in high heels. It's just bizarre, but I had a friend who can do somersaults in high heels.
I guess with enough practice you can do anything.
Well, he knew how to wear high heels, though. And then she runs into the studio, and Stryker goes into Brooke's room with her to find absolutely nothing. There's nothing in there. And Stryker gives her comfort with his manhood, so he...
And as only Stryker can. And I found it hilarious that you asked the question about the cigarette.
No, I think I was making an off comment about the cigarette. I think I was trying to make a bad joke about it. And
I thought it was funny though.
I forgot what I said though.
You said, "Do you think he placed a cigarette in every bedroom? Yeah. That way, no matter which girl he was with, he could have a cigarette afterwards?"
Because he does this sort of like this creepy stance after he's done. Because Samantha walks in, opens the door to see Stryker there, and he's just sort of like with a cigarette, and he's just sort of like
propped up against the
propped up,
headboard.
and he's like, "I'm a man with a hairy chest, smoking a cigarette."
Yep, got mine. How about you?
Yeah. Well, that's all I can think of, because you never see him smoke anywhere else other than after he has finished his conquests, the best way to put it. So I think that's what I thought of. Do you think he puts a cigarette in each of like their nightstands? So he's like, you know,
tighten up that straitjacket, ladies. Here I come.
And then Patti and Tara are in the kitchen, where Patti shows she is jealous of Samantha. And that's when we have the walk-in. Samantha gets upset about not getting the part she thinks that she deserves. So,
well, she went to the loony bin to play this role.
Yeah. And then Laura is in the studio, which you really don't get any sort of character development with a lot of these. You only see Samantha as a character and Patti as a character. The rest of them are pretty one-dimensional. Like, they have their one thing that they're good at. Mm-hmm. And they're only sort of half good at. So, Laura's in the studio. She's supposed to be a ballet dancer. And she does some sort of, like, weird interpretive dance. Mm-hmm. Where she gets killed. So, kill number 4. And, did we even see who killed her? No, we didn't even see anything, so I can't rate it. Then a gun breaks up the drinking party. Oh, and then, so they're having a fight, Samantha and Stryker, and then Samantha produces a gun and she shoots Stryker. So we get kill number 5. Stryker gets shot, and then Brooke. And then she shoots twice.
And they both fell out the window.
Yeah, so she's confronting Stryker with Brooke in the room. And then Brooke and Stryker fall out the window. Tara runs out into the snow and she tries to start the car with no luck. Matthew, which is kill number 7, is steaming in the hot tub. So he gets drowned or stabbed or whatever in the hot tub, and they're left afloat. Tara goes into a maze. It's a really sort of like weird back.
It's a studio that has different sections, but it's made to where it almost looks like it's backstage.
And there's like a city part. There's like one with a taxi. He's got a lot of mannequins. It's not really creepy. It's like want to be creepy, but not quite there. Does that make sense?
It's confusing.
Yeah. There really is no sort of theme or anything. It just looks like these people really sort of didn't care at the end of this movie. And then she tries to find a way out, and she is followed by the old hag. And this whole maze thing is just weird, and has a grave to Audrey, a yellow taxi, and a slew of props. Just whatever you think of is there. Tara confuses the killer and knocks her out, but she lives and tries to strangle her. She runs into a brick wall. And then she's like, I found the way out. She runs into it. Go find out the door. Behind the door is a brick wall, and she just loses it. And then she goes down this hallway of noosed mannequins. And I feel like this whole thing is a bit eccentric. Tara finds Laura just chilling by her neck, hanging around with the mannequins. She freaks out and runs to a vent that she opens and tries to hide in. The old hag looks for her but doesn't find her, and she reopens the vent.
The vent cover.
The vent cover, as she cautiously opens the vent. She gets dragged back in, and we get kill number 7, which again you don't see. Next we see Patti clumsily opening a bottle of champagne, and Samantha walks in and discusses Audrey and shows her and discusses how to open up a bottle of champagne. They discuss her stay in the asylum and Stryker. And Stryker is now chilling on a couch with a piece of glass, a shard of glass right through him. So, he's got a bit of a Band-Aid problem there. He needs some Band-Aid and some Neosporin, and I think it'll be okay. They discuss her stay, blah, blah, blah. Tells Patti she killed Stryker and that she should get married. Yeah, she tells Patti that she should get married. Patti confesses she murdered everyone else. And kill number 9, she stabs Samantha. Next, Patti goes by Audrey and is immensely performing her comic routine in an asylum. Because it says tonight only or whatever, Audrey, and she's just standing in front of people, and in her mind she is performing her comedy stand-up to people who are not even really paying attention. So that's the end of Curtains. I give it a 3 out of 5. No one some of the problems I had with it, no one questioned what happened to everyone else. There are areas I wish was sort of explored, such as who was Samantha talking to in the bed when she got out. Because for a long time, I thought maybe that was the person that was the killer. Because that would make sense, type thing. Or how did she... Because she goes, I got you out of the asylum. So I'm like, who is this woman? And I sort of think maybe it might have been the receptionist that we first saw who wanted her autograph.
No, I think that person is supposed to symbolize Audra.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. So that's sort of a meta person.
Yeah, I think that person was supposed to symbolize Audra.
So she really... Because of her...
So... Because she was mentally unstable, or they deemed her mentally unstable in the hospital, Audra, which would be her alter ego, because that's who she went to the hospital for.
Manifest.
Right. So Audra helped her figure out how to get out.
Well, I mean, with your statement, it makes sense, but my statement is going to be, if you're around enough crazy for a long period of time, you're going to start to go crazy because you feel that is normal. Right. You forget what normality is with that type of environment. And some of the other things is, did Patti kill the lady at the beginning? Who killed the lady at the beginning, and how did she get the hag mask? Because the hag mask is sort of that weird loose end of, obviously Stryker had one, but so did the killer. But how did the killer still have Stryker's hag mask?
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Well, that room had a bunch of props in it.
Yeah. And, the other thing was the maze. The maze thing sort of was just... It was interesting, but I felt like it was just a part of the movie that really didn't belong there. If that makes sense.
I think they had to introduce you to the prop room to explain where the mask came from.
Yeah. And, other problems were there was just no character development except for a handful of people. And then just some loose ends in unexplored areas. So. Although I did like some of the scenery in the house. Like, the house was interesting architecturally. It was like this weird Art Nouveau but gaudy at the same time with some of the doorways, and it was interesting. It was eccentric at best. But yeah, I like to have a little bit more background with some of the ladies. So, you want to do some trivia?
So the trivia for this film, there's quite a few of them. The first is, the opening credits give John Vernon's fictional director, Jonathan Stryker, credit as the film's director. Director Richard Ciupka decided not to place his name on the credits. Lesleh Donaldson was doubled by a figure skater for the skating sequence on the pond. Donaldson was originally going to do the sequence herself and even had undergone training in a skating arena to do her own skating routine, but fell down on the bumpy ice on the day this scene was shot and cut her chin. However, Donaldson's skating double also played the killer in that same sequence.
So I'm sort of confused on why she couldn't skate if she cut her chin open. Who knew that the chin being cut open was, it's linked to your skating ability?
Lynne Griffin performed her stand-up comedy routine in front of a live audience at the club Yuck Yucks
in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So, during her routine, she was saying, I would do anything to be a movie star, even sleep around, or blow or whatever. And she made a joke about something like that, and it was sort of funny. But it was like she sort of laid the brickwork for what was going to happen.
Yeah. Lynne Griffin wore her own clothes as well as wrote the stand-up comedy routine she does in the movie.
the character of Jonathan Stryker was patterned after Klaus Kinski. I don't know who that is. Lynne Griffin's mother, Kay Griffin, plays one of the inmates in the asylum. A scene of Lesleh Donaldson as Chrissy breaking up with a coach player by Peter McNeil was filmed, but never included in the final version of the movie. Shooting of the film started in 1980, but the production was plagued with problems. It was shelved for over a year, during which rewrites, reshoots, and at least one recast was done. The film was finally completed and released in 1983. Cecile Gomez was originally cast in the role of Brooke Parsons. However, she was replaced with Linda Thorson after a brief time on the production. For years after, there were rumors that Gomez was replaced because she refused to do a nude scene. However, producer Peter R. Simpson said in the interview with TerrorTrap.com that Gomez was finally replaced because they weren't impressed with Gomez's acting skills. The issue of nudity had no part in the decision. And then with some spoilers, the climax was originally filmed, had Patti performing her stand-up comedy routine on a stage with the bodies of her victims. The scene was eventually changed in a reshoot to Patti pretending to perform her routine in the asylum in front of the inmates instead. During the interview with TerrorTrap.com, producer Peter R. Simpson said that originally Matthew's death was supposed to be on screen. Matthew was supposed to be killed while riding a snowmobile, which then he would have crashed through a bay window in the library, frightening Tara. However, the scene was rewritten to where Stryker and Brooke's body crashed through the window when they fallen from a second floor window after being shot.
Yeah, because we all know that bodies bounce off the ground like
yeah, or this weird space U? Yeah, because that sort of irritated me too a little bit. Like, so how did the bodies...
Physics are at play here.
Yeah.
Not correct physics.
So what did you all think about the movie?
Overall, I thought it was okay. I do agree that there could have been some more character development, but
I mean,
that's usually a complaint we have in most films. So
it's just, I'll be honest, it really didn't enthrall me like all the way through. It wasn't, and I feel like it was more of...
It seemed really interesting when you first get started with it.
Yeah.
And then you get about halfway through and you're like, can I just kill him and get it over with?
Yeah.
Let me help you.
Yeah, I mean, just, it sort of gets boring a little bit halfway through, and you're just, and then we find out, like, bits and pieces, like I said, with the actresses, but a lot of them are just sort of weird, such as, like, that whole...
They're forgettable people.
For, you know, like I said, the only thing we know Tara for is that she slept with Matthew, like, right off the bat, like...
No shame in her game.
And then we know that that one chick, she was a ballerina, but she really was into interpretive dancing.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean, we had these classes with these people, but they didn't... I mean, like I said, you don't find anything out about Audrey. So that sort of irritated me too. Like, what he was looking for. Oh. Because none of these people fit. Except for the Samantha character.
Mm-hmm. Because I think Audra was an alter ego of Samantha's.
I think Audra became an alter ego of Samantha's. I don't think it was originally that way. But like I said, you go to the crazy bin for a long time. You sort of come in thinking that's the norm. And you sort of produce things in your head to keep you from whatever sanity you do have.
Well, and she was trying to convince the doctors that she was mentally ill. So, I mean, you can only pretend to be mentally ill for so long before you yourself start believing that you're mentally ill.
Yeah. And she desperately wanted this one part. I think she thought that was, her going to be her claim to fame. That was going to open the doors.
Well, she was already a popular actress, I think.
I would say she was not a popular, but she was up and coming.
I think the thing that annoyed her the most was she kindly felt like this Audra character was written specifically for her. And it really got to her that Stryker would just cast somebody else in that role.
Yeah, I really don't know what... I mean, you don't... And that's another thing, you don't really see the motive behind Stryker. What was his purpose for doing what he did? For... I mean, other than maybe conquest. I mean, that's what it seems like. His whole goal was just to get a bunch of girls and women in his place to do stuff with. That's all it seemed like.
No, I think he was just taking advantage of the situation.
I don't know. I think it had a good premise. I think that it really didn't.
It was a good idea. I just think it wasn't really...
I don't think it was performed well. And I mean, I like to know some of the stuff that was plaguing the shoot some more. I mean, I think that would have been more. I think that would have been interesting to know what was going on behind the scenes, because that could affect a lot of what happened. Because, like I said, we don't watch anything or do any research other than IMDb, and we don't even look at that prior. We don't watch any reviews or anything. We take it for face value.
Right.
And we come up with our own decisions on the movies. We don't want to be influenced.
Well, the only time we look up stuff like that is if our views on the movie clash, and then we look and see what other people's...
No, or we just sort of like...
But it's not until after we've done our notes and watched the film and done all that.
Or maybe there's like a question of sort of like, I can see where you're coming from, but, like, sometimes I like to know, like, why they chose the ending that they did in some movies compared to others. But, no, overall, I think the ending on this one was fine. I like it. I think the one with the bodies would have been, I don't know, not too much, but I just don't think it would have been like, okay. But I liked it, I liked that she was locked away and she did perform mentally.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she just lost it.
It almost implies that she was the one that helped Samantha get out. The comedian.
Or you could even say this. It implies that it was all in her head.
In the comedian's head? Or in Samantha's head?
In comedian's head.
Possible.
I don't think that was the angle. I mean, if that was the angle, that would actually irritate me more than anything else. Like, it's all a dream. Sort of like a Mr. Brooks thing. They go find out it was all a dream, and you're like, well, that was a waste of 2 hours. So, yeah.
I think that's all.
I think that's all. All right. So that was Curtains, 1983. Thank you for staying with us this entire time. And
We'll scare you later.
bye.